Okay, so now we're going to move on to lesson 1.2, which is complex fractions and unit rates. Well, last time we learned about unit rates. Today we're going to add complex fractions. Now this is really hard stuff. I'm really impressed with you guys. So what are we going to learn today? We're going to learn to simplify a complex fraction and to find unit rates. So let's look at our vocabulary and our key concepts. Well, a complex fraction is a fraction that has a fraction in the numerator, denominator, or both. So you can see this example here. We have 1/2 as the numerator, which is a fraction, and then 2 as my denominator. In this example, we have 3 as my numerator and then 1/2 as my denominator, a fraction on the denominator. Now here we have a mixed number, 1 and 1/2 as my numerator, and then a fraction 1/4 as my denominator. Well, remember, fractions are the same as division problems. So how do we simplify a complex fraction? Excuse me. We write the complex fraction as a division problem first. Then we change the division problem to a multiplication problem by copying the first fraction or number multiplied by the reciprocal or flip of the second fraction or number. This is just what we finished learning, is multiplying and dividing fractions. Then we cross cancel using our cross eyes, multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and we double check to make sure that our answer is in lowest terms. Now make sure you copy all of the information in your notes. So let's look at example 1. We need to simplify 1/4 over 2. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write it as a division problem. So let's write that as 1/4 divided by 2. Now remember, that's 2 over 1. Now we rewrite that as a multiplication problem. So we have 1/4 times 1/2. And then just like before, we multiply our numerators. 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 2 is 8. Now we know that that's in simplest form, so that's our final answer. Make sure that you copy everything into your notes just as I've written it. Ready for example 2? Here we go. Well, here we have 1 as our numerator and 1/2 as our denominator. Now remember, we write it as a division problem, so we're going to go with 1 divided by 1/2. Now we rewrite that as a multiplication problem. So this becomes 1 over 1 times 2 over 1. We can't cross cancel. Multiply our numerators. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. And we simplify that to 2. And there's your final answer. Make sure that you've copied everything in your notes, just as I've written. Ready for example number 3? Here we go. Here's a word problem. Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 hour. We're going to find his average speed in miles per hour. So remember, we need to write the rate that compares the number of miles to hours. So let's start out by writing that ratio. So we have 1 and 1/3 on the top, and that's miles. And then on the bottom we have 1, I don't know why I keep doing that, 1/4 hours on the bottom. So now we're going to write that as a division problem. Let's go over here. We have 1 and 1/3 divided by 1/4. So now we have a mixed number, so we need to make it an improper fraction. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So this becomes 4/3 divided by 1/4. Now the next step is to rewrite it as a multiplication problem. So we keep the first fraction, change the sign, and flip the second fraction. Multiplying across, we come up with 4 times 4 is 16 on the top and 3 on the bottom. That's an improper fraction, so we can divide 16 on the inside, 3 on the outside. 3 goes into 16 5 times, that's 15. Subtract, we have 1 left. So we have 5 and 1/3. But we're not done yet because we have to write our answer by answering the question. So we know that Josiah jogs 5 and 1/3 miles per hour. So there's our final answer. Okay, let's go on to example number 4. Make sure that you've copied everything before you move on. So here's example 4. It says, Tia is painting her house. She paints 34.5 square feet in 3/4 of an hour. At this rate, how many square feet can she paint each hour? Well, we have to compare the amount of square feet to the hours. So let's write that ratio. We have 34.5 feet squared over 3/4 of an hour. So remember, we have to write that as a division problem. So we have 34 and 1/2 divided by 3/4. Well, now that first fraction is a mixed number, so we need to make it improper. We times 34 times 2 plus 1, and we get 69 halves divided by 3/4. Now we rewrite it as a multiplication problem. So we get 69 halves, keep that fraction, change the sign, and flip the second one, 4 halves. So let's see if we can cross cancel. Well, I know I can cross cancel 2 and 4. This becomes a 1, and this becomes a 2. I'm sorry, this is a 3 over here. This should be a 3. I can cross cancel 3 and 69. This becomes a 1, and this becomes a 23. So now I just multiply across. 23 times 2 is 46, and 1 times 1 is 1, which is equal to 46. So now we have to answer our question, and the answer to our question is Tia can paint 46 square feet per hour. There's your answer. Make sure you've copied everything down just as I have. Now, you're going to complete the on your own problems in your notes. Bring them to class with your completed notes. See you tomorrow.